I love getting video requests, and recently a friend of mine asked me to do a video based on a conversation that we were having about how to buy guitars, or specifically how I buy guitars. So against my better judgment, I am going to reveal to you some of my secrets and strategies and resources for how I get the best deals on guitars and various other pieces of gear. Strategy number one, eBay is your friend, and here's why. Here on my handy dandy iPad, I have pulled up, and to save time, I already did the search. I searched, as you can, hopefully you can read up here at the top, I searched for an Epiphone Les Paul Standard, which is a pretty common guitar. You can see over here, this list over here on the left, obviously on eBay, these are asking prices. Some of these are going to have a best offer. Some of these, like this one here, this is going to be an auction. So that's not the final price of that guitar. That one still has time to be bid on and go up. But you can see, for the most part, this is, pretty much what people are asking. Now, for the most part, this information is absolutely useless to me, for my purposes anyway. So what I'm going to do is we are going to go to filter, and then we are going to scroll down and we are going to click on completed items. These are completed transactions. The ones in the red are the items that did not sell but before the expired amount of time. The items in green, these are the ones that actually sold, and these are what people actually paid for them. You can see right here, this one went for roughly 250 bucks. And several of these, that one went for 275 roughly with a case. This one here went for 425, which seems a bit high to me. Let's see what that is. Most likely this is going to be, no, that was a used one. That was a used one, just wasn't used very much. Okay. Anyway, but if you scroll down here, and again, it's kind of the green ones that I'm looking for. There's somebody trying to get 600 bucks out of their reissue, which is insane. And I say that because I know what those guitars sell for brand new. But you can see throughout here that most of these are selling. There's a 150 that went for, that one looks like it's pretty banged up and missing some stuff. So, but you can see most of them, they're selling used right around the 250, 300 range, maybe a little bit more on average. Some people are getting lucky and getting 4 and over. But for the most part, we can pretty much gauge that, that the value, what people are paying for this, for these guitars right now is, roughly between 250 and 300 bucks. Why is this important? The reason why is because eBay is the industry standard as far as online sales of used anything. Be it eBay's been around longer than, as much as I love Reverb, eBay's been around longer than Reverb and and any of those places, and a lot of pawn shops, as well as Guitar Center, will use eBay as their reference for what the used market is on any given piece of gear. So now I have an idea in my head of what the used market is, of what people are actually paying for this guitar, hence what I should expect to pay for it. Now, on a guitar like this, that's pretty common, and if you're new to guitars, you can expect to see Epiphone Les Paul Standards just about everywhere. They're very, very popular. On this guitar, if I were going to buy one of these, I would see that they are going for, the low end of that being about the 250 range, and the higher end of that being, again, probably 3, maybe 350. I am going to try and pay as close to 250 for that as humanly possible. How do I accomplish that? Well, if I'm buying on eBay, the first thing that I look for again, going back to my original search, let's go back to the actual search. Again, now I am looking for price first, of course, but more specifically than that, I am looking for something like this that has an or best offer. That way, that tells me that they are willing to take less than the price that they actually have it listed for. So, if I want to pay, and that one might be a little far off. I don't know that I'd be able to get them down close to 200 bucks, but but it never hurts to make the offer. The worst that they can do is say no. So if I'm able to get into this guitar for around $250, I know for a fact that I bought it at a very good price, and should I ever decide to go and resell it, provided I take care of it, and I'm selling it fairly in proper condition, there's a pretty good chance I can at least make my money back on it, maybe even make a little bit more. Another good resource that I use pretty often is Craigslist. A good advantage to Craigslist is, for the most part, I am going to be interacting with somebody locally, which means that I'm going to be getting, in a lot of cases anyway, not all, but some, a piece of gear that has probably changed hands locally a number of times and may have even been originally purchased from a store locally. So that means it hasn't been boxed up and shipped around the U.S. UPS playing football with it and all that kind of stuff that that anybody has any experience shipping guitars, that unfortunately sometimes that stuff happens. So with Craigslist you get to avoid a lot of that. Now there are some downsides to Craigslist which I will address here in a minute. Craigslist, and I have pulled up my my Craigslist app, and there's I can't remember what this one specifically is called. There's a bunch of different apps out there that are designed specifically to allow you to access Craigslist. This one, what I do on Craigslist, now that I've gone to eBay and I have and I know, I've got a pretty good idea of what the used market is on said piece of gear. Now I can just go to Craigslist, and what I like to do here is just go to search for musical instruments and just kind of browse and see what's out there. Oftentimes, people on Craigslist, sometimes you can find somebody locally that's looking to unload something fast. Be it they need the money, for whatever reason, so they're willing to sell it for a little bit cheaper than they normally would. So again, using my research on eBay, I can now gauge what somebody is asking for a piece of gear on Craigslist and determine pretty quickly, if the price that they're asking is a fair offer or not. Here we go. Here's a good example. Line 6 auto filter. I know from my research on Craigslist recently, again for my own personal use because I'm actually interested in one of these, I have seen these pedals sell for upwards of $80. This guy right here is asking $50, which is which is a very fair price, I think. That's a price that I would be willing to pay. Now, that being said, and again without reading this person's description, the first thing I would do is contact him, whatever his preferred method of contact would be, and the first thing I'm going to do is try and get it for less than that. Again, I'm okay paying $50, but if I can get it for 35 or 40, that's even better. So again, I'm gonna politely make the offer. I don't want I never want to disrespect anybody. When it comes to their asking price. So I will politely make an offer and see if he's willing to accept it. And if not, then be willing to negotiate from there. So, but I know that I'm not going to pay any more than $50 for this pedal. So, which again I feel is a fair price. A couple of final notes about Craigslist. Unfortunately, there are some shady people out there, and Craigslist is also if you can hear horror stories just about anywhere you go about Craigslist. about Craigslist transactions. So whenever you do a deal on Craigslist, always, always, always meet in a public place. Always bring a witness with you. I prefer to meet either in a mall parking lot or a police station. And I always, I almost always take somebody with me. I am fortunate enough that I have a musician slash bandmate slash friend of mine who is also a police officer, and he accompanies me on a lot of Craigslist deals. That protects me, that protects them, that makes sure everybody is getting a fair deal, and nobody is going to be getting going to wind up on the short end on a short end of a stick and be misrepresented, and more importantly than that, it's going to make sure that nobody gets hurt. Another good place to go, and I admit that I am a little bit biased about this because of my former career at Guitar Center, but Guitar Center has always been for me a very good resource to find used gear, and again, when you pull up their website, again, back to our Epiphone Les Paul standard search, here's your new ones. This, by the way, on this particular guitar, black or ebony in the Gibson / Epiphone world is always more inexpensive than every other finish, because that is a very, very inexpensive finish for them to make. So these two are the exact same guitar, just that's a black one. The rest of these are going to be standard burst finishes. So, and here below this, you can see that most of these, not all, but most of these, most of their used guitars, and of course you can see they've got pages and pages and pages of them, are going to be right around in that same price. You can pull up any one of these listings, any one of them. Pull up any single one of them, and it will tell you what store it's located at. Let's see which, and this one says Indianapolis because that's my home store. There we go. Guitar Center Rockford, and I believe that is the Rockford, Illinois store. Anyway, so it will provide you with the store that it's located at, as well as their phone number. You can actually call them and speak with them over the phone. They will be able to tell you the condition and even send you pictures, more detailed pictures and stuff like that on request. Should you be calling a store outside of your local area. When you go into your local Guitar Center and you decide that you want to negotiate a price on a used piece of equipment, a couple of things to keep in mind, and this is coming from my experience on the other side of the counter. They are always more willing to work with you when you're respectful. If anybody, I had a guy that came up to me one time about a used Gibson Firebird. It was a custom shop Firebird that I had hanging on the wall, and my store manager had already offered him. We had it originally priced at $19.99. He came in demanding that we sell it to him for $1,600 or something out the door. We gave him $150 off, to give it, just in order to give him something, and he wouldn't take it. He was adamant about $1,600, and I absolutely refused to sell it to him for that because, number one, I wasn't making any money on it at that price. Number two, I had not had it that long. I think we'd had it for about a week. And number three, in this particular case, it was very clear that this guy was trying to buy it because he was going to flip it. He was going to try and buy it for cheaper in the instance, so he could turn around and sell it on Craigslist or eBay or whatever it was for $2,000. Retail stores are not in the business of giving away their profits to their customers. They are, again, they are going to be much more likely to work with you if you were, number one, reasonable, And by reasonable, I mean you cannot expect them to not make money. And number two, respectful. So I cannot stress that enough. I still show nothing but respect to my former store, and they are always willing to treat me very, very fairly, very fairly. So, and I found that to be the case not only with my, with my old Guitar Center in Indianapolis that used to employ me, but also with the local Sam Ash. Those guys also know me. The local pawn shops, and any of the local music stores. They are always willing to work with me a lot more when I am respectful of their business, and respectful of their families and their ability to make a living, versus demanding that I'm going to take my business elsewhere if I don't get the deal that I want. Anyway, so bottom line, if we all get along and we all work together, everybody always comes out a lot happier. And again, this is me speaking from both sides of the counter here in this instance. I need for these places to continue to make money, because I need for them to be able to keep selling me the gear that that I so desire. What about if it's a rare piece of gear that's not on eBay, such as this guitar? Well, in this particular instance, in the instance of a vintage guitar, which is what this one is now, this is an 85 Hammer Scarab. This guitar, sometimes it's going to take you a little bit longer to get the information that you need. It's not always at your fingertips, because, as I mentioned before, there's not always a reference point out there. The last regular old, USA-made 80s model Hammer Scarab that I saw sell on eBay, and this was after watching it, constantly going back and checking for months and months and months. I saw these sell for about $1,600. I saw one sell for about $1,600. That information was acquired by a constant monitoring of eBay, and consulting guys in various guitar forums. Guitar forums, online guitar forums, particularly groups on Facebook, I found, some of the most knowledgeable guitar people on the planet. And there seems to be a guitar group on Facebook for just about everything now. I'm a member of course, the BC Rich Forum, the Jackson Charvel. There's one for the Roland JC120, and of course Gibson Les Paul, which I'm also a member of. And then there's several, a bunch of them. That's just a few. I mean, there's one for just about any guitar out there you can think of. Those are always great places to consult, because chances are, if you post a question in one of those groups, there's going to be somebody in there that has had experience with something, with whatever it is that you're looking for, or similar to it anyway, oftentimes fairly recently. And again, that's typically a pretty good indicator of what current market trends are on a current piece of gear that there might not be a lot of other information out there on otherwise. So there you have it. There are a few of most of my strategies to buying and a little bit on selling anyway, guitars and guitar gear on the used market. I found it to be a much wiser use of my funds and my investment to be able to do it that way, and it also gives me an opportunity to interact with other people, particularly local, not only locally but around the country, with people that have similar interests with me, and it's a really strong community, and it's a lot of fun to be a part of. So another thing that's fun to be a part of course, is my favorite nonprofit organization, Share the Music. You can check them out on Facebook as well. Their Facebook link will be on the screen as well as in the description down below. You can, please go check them out. And, if you got a broken guitar or two laying around, or any musical instrument or two of anything laying around, that's really who you should contact. They're going to put it to good use, and I promise you find it a very good home. with somebody that that might not be able to afford it otherwise. As always, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Please leave me your questions and comments, and or anything down below. I am always happy to answer them, and share any experience that I may have, and especially if it's if it's an opportunity to help somebody else. And last but not least, I am way behind on putting videos up, so hopefully I will be back on track and back on schedule here very, very shortly. So more stuff to come very, very soon.